So the Rebbe, Acha we're up to. The Rebbe explains now why it was necessary to have a gilui of higher than Hishtalshalus. The Rebbe will explain all of Hishtalshalus comes from the Kav. And the Rebbe explains because the Kav is a line that goes from top to the bottom, it has limitations. It is measured. And because uh, it has that measurement, uh, therefore, all of the time when you need to uh, push away the clippers, you have to have the gilui of the Erin Sof, which is higher than the Mokar of the Kab. Let's look inside. Acha inyan, but the idea is shekol seder hishtalshlus ubibedida v'hagabola. All of the order of the hishtalshlus, the world as it's been in a way that it evolves from one to the other, who b'medida v'hagabola. It's all measured and all limited. B'shoyresh hamedida. The root of this measurement, kav hamida, that comes from the level of the kav, the measuring stick, the kav hamida, the measuring stick. The kav hamida is the level shemoided as medidas hasifiros umedidas oilmes. That measures, it measures the sefiros and it measures the worlds. Vahatamhu. Why is the Kav the one that measures and brings the limitation and measurement in the world? Is because the Kav itself is measured. Hu lefisha b'hakav atzmoi yesh boi milo mato. Because in the Kav itself, we have milo and mato. Because the Kav is milo mato, that's why it measures milo mato. Kivon sheberoishoy hu davuk. Ubesoifoi eine davuk. The kav, on the top of the kav, it's connected to the oir, and at the end, it's not connected. So there is a difference between the kav, the stick, the measuring stick, is connected on one side and not at the end. Lochen yesh boi milo mato. That's why there's a top and a bottom. The connected is the top, and the not connected is the bottom. Umitzad zen nase milo mato gam b'sfiris u'ba'olumis. And because of this, it becomes also top and bottom in the sfiris u'ba'olumis. Shoylumis akroivim yoser l'rei shisoi heim b'b'chinas milo. The worlds that are closer to the top, to the beginning, they are the level of Milo. But that makes Milo when you're closer to the top. But even the ones that are closer to the top, they can only come from the Kav, who as its end is not Dovuk, that has a Milo Mato. Yes, they're connected to the Milo. The Rebbe says now. Uklolus ha'ishavus, but generally creation, gam his havus ha'ilum izvahasifiris, sheheim b'bchinas maila, even the creation of world and spirits which are on the level of maila, mehakav, from the kav, is also hu mipnei sheberoshoi hu davuk ubesoifei eina davuk, is because on the top, on the head, it is connected and is not connected. Hainu, even though they come from the Maila, but it's only because they come from the Kav, which is Davuk Lamanad Lamata Hainu, Shahadvekas Shabireishoy Eino Meira Besefer. That means when it says the bottom is not Davuk, means that the connection of the top does not shine through the end. Shali Deizeh Yeshmokim Lihishtalshlus. That gives room for the Hishtalshlus. As opposed to If the Vekas, that connection that the Kav had in the top, would have come down to the bottom, if it would have shined to the bottom, lo hoyo efsher liyos mimenu hishabos. From this, you can't have creation because the light would be intense if it would shine, and in the presence of the great shine of the Kav, if it didn't go less to bottom, it could not be world. And he gives example of what we learned before. Yuvan zeh b'mashin is barely il siv gimel. We can understand it from that which was explained earlier in siv gimel b'inyan chochma bina. With regards to chochma bina, shebechinas chochma atzmo. So over there we explained that from chochma itself, chochma sees shehidiyas hamahus, that sees the essence. You cannot have the creation of the bina, of the articulation in intellect. Oh, he behelem. Only after the level of Riyah of Chochmah is obscured, it just leaves a place, an acceptance for the idea as Ainasis Hanocha Sichlis. That makes it, that becomes into a logical acceptance. Umimeno Nasis Havana Sichlis. And from that Hanocha, you get to the Havana. From the making sense, then you get to understand it logically, which is Bechinas Habina. Avol Kashi Yoir Bechinas Riyas Hamahus. But when it shines, when Chochmah itself shines, the level of seeing the mahus, sheireshis hachochma, the beginning of chochma, lo yefshel is havas habina. Then it's not possible to be the creation of bina. Derech zeh b'hakav, and similarly is with the kav. Shetzorich liyesh be'oifen, it needs to be in a way shebesoifen lo yiyadavuk, that in the end it should not be connected. Hainu shadveikus shaberoisha lo yiyah nirgash besoifei, that the connection that is in the top of the kav and the head of the kav should not be felt in the end. That is when you can have a measured hishtalshlus. Move on. So now we understand shemitzad hakav I efsher lishanis as mitzius ha'olam, that from the kav perspective we cannot change the entity, the way, the limitation, the existence of the world. The ma'achar shehakav atzmahu memedida v'hagbola, since the kav itself is measured and limited. Sherishi seidavuk v'soifein, and davuk, the top is connected, the end is not connected. Hare mitzad zeh mukhrach liyos hamaylo mata da'ilumais. So there has to be the top and the bottom of ilmus. You can't change that because it itself is measured, the kav hamida. That's the kav, and so therefore we need to get from higher of the kav in order to change the world by makas v'choides, getting rid of the klippas. You needed to go tap into higher than the hishtalshlus. But further, the Rebbe says, not only the light that is before the tzimtzum, which the kaf touches, but even you need even a higher level of oil. You say to Mizu even more, you say to Mizu even more than this. Gam bechinas oil shekoidem hatzimtzum, sheboy hudveikas hakav. Also, the level of oil which is before the tzimtzum, in which the kav is connected, that's also not enough. Also, the la in the gam mitzad oil zeh yeshno kvar hamedida. Also, mitzad that oil that the kav is connected, there is already that measured. Sherak reishis hakav yidovuk boy, that only the top of the kav should be connected in him. ולכן גם מצד עיר זה ישנה שורש ומקור לאילומס. That's why also from the perspective of this oil, there is already a shadish magloilus. Belochein, b'makas b'choides, and therefore b'makas b'choides shehutzrach oz liyes dechias ubitl haklipas legamri. During the matas b'choides, when there needed to be the push away and the destruction of totally the klippas. As the Rebbe says in the Hora, these were the footnotes, the couple of footnotes that the Rebbe added. Looks like the four footnotes. The Rebbe says in the Amos that the Rebbe says that at their force, the Eberstein needed to destroy them. And the Rebbe says he didn't say it in the Maimer itself because that's, the Rebbe says like that, but it's a big Kiddush. But what the Rebbe is saying over here is that when you need to be the bittel of the Klippas Legamri, when they were like out in the force, Hayotzorich liyis hagilu da'idin sof, shalamaylo mesherish u'mokar. It needed the earlier sof, which is even higher than the sherish u'mokar of the kav. You have the Ha'ara Daled over here. The Rebbe asked before the question for the Malachim. Before we said Ois Kitano and it was bottle. So the Rebbe explains it over here also in the Ha'ara. So these were some of the Ha'aras the Rebbe says. There is also a fifth Ha'ara. But so you need a higher revelation of Ein Sof, which is even higher than the Sherish Shemokar. Okay, so that is what was needed by Yitzias Mitzrayim and what was needed for Makas B'chodos. Omdom Acharei Kol Zeh, but after all this, yes, but that was necessary. Hagilu Shoyu B'Yitzias Mitzrayim Hu. Why was the revelation Yitzias Mitzrayim? Was B'Shvil Litches Es HaKlippas. The purpose was to push away klippas. So that's the idea. That's the relaxation that comes after work and effort. The menucha that comes after avodah yigia. The b'shorshoy, and the root of that is hu b'bchinas makiv hayosher kinal. That's the level of the makiv hayosher. Or we put it into words. We learned also the level of Adam Kadmin, Ak. Mashenkin agilu the Matan Torah, as opposed to the Git Matan Torah, who bechinas makiv hachoyzer. That comes from the level of makiv hachoyzer. That's the etzem ha'oir shalamayla megeder gilui. That's the essence of oir, which is higher than gilui, the makiv haroch. So the gilui from Matan Torah is from Atik, or from Makiv Harachik, which is higher than Be'etzem, than Gilui, in every level that we talk about. And that's was added in the Shabbos sort of Torah over the Shabbos of Yitzias Mitzrayim, which are both Shabbos, but that's a Shabbos that comes Menucha after pushing away the klippas, which is after Avodah V'Yigia, and that's a lower level in Tainug, in Makiv HaKorev, and then for Matan Torah we get the higher level. But the Rebbe cautions now, but Torah is also to fight negativity. It would seem that Torah tells us this is Tomei, this is Toher, so it comes out that it's also to be Doiched. But the Rebbe says, no, main of Torah is to be Mevarer, to pull out the good from the bad, as well as to add more light. Although that the idea of Torah is to distinguish between Tomei and Toher, Ein hakavone bozeh d'chiyas hara. But the intention over there is not to push away the Ra. Ki'im birur hanitzoitzos v'halosam l'kedusham. The intention is not the pushing away. It's not by like the makas b'chayris to destroy the b'chayris. Over here, we push away the Ra in order to be mavarer, to take the sparks and to elevate into kedusha. V'oid. And more than that, the loizo kavana pnim is the Torah. That's not the inner kavana. That's only the external to be mevarer. The pnim is Torah kim toishris oir b'pnimis Yisrael. The idea of Torah is to give to the inner of Yidden v'al yodom b'seder ishtalshlus, and through the Yidden later on in the order of ishtalshlus. So now we talk basically about Yitzias Mitzrayim and about Matan Torah. Now we're going to explain in Oizayin about Sfiras HaOmer. Oizayin. V'hinei ha'achona l'Matan Torah hu inyan Sfiras HaOmer. The preparation of Matan Torah is the idea of Sfiras HaOmer. V'hinei Sfiras HaOmer hu inyan ha'birurik. Sfiras HaOmer is the idea of Sfiras HaOmer is to sort out, to be mevarer. Nemar, this it says, Usfartem lochem mimochras HaShabbos. For Sfiras to be rudim, that over there it comes mimochras HaShabbos. Mochras HaShabbos means higher than Shabbos. The mochras HaShabbos, hu l'mayla mibchinas Shabbos. Mochras Shabbos is from a higher level of Shabbos. Bahainu, and that is Shabbos shenemar kan hu b'chinas menucha sh'achrei hayigia. The Shabbos that says here, Shabbos, that's the menucha that comes after the effort, the lower level in Shabbos. Yitzias Mitzrayim. That's and memochras HaShabbos is the level of menucha betzim. U'mochras HaShabbos hu b'chinas menucha betzim. Shu b'chinas etzem hatayim. U'mib'chinas zu, from the level of menucha be'etzem, etzem hatayim, nimshach hanesinas koyach al avodas habirurim. From this we get the power of avodas habirurim. The Rebbe is going to explain soon. So, what is the difference between Sfiras HaOmer and Matan Torah? Matan Torah, we learned earlier, is the higher level of Tainug Be'etzem Makif Harochik. But here we're saying that Mimochras HaShabbos, already Sfira, is the level of Menucha Be'etzem, and from that level is Nimshach HaNesinas Koyach Al Avodas HaBrurim. Val derech mashin is bor le'il be'inyan asiyas malacha. We said before, when doing malacha, even though it involves the actual action, but yet in the asiyas malacha gets involved the highest levels of the person's koiches. Shasiyas hamalacha hi mitzad hatainuk sheyesh lo ba'adover. Why is the person doing the malacha? Because he enjoys it, and that means that the asiya, the action, even though it's a simple action, but it involves the highest level within the neshama itself. Shemishum zehu yored b'koyach ha'asiya shaloi. That's why he goes down into the power of his doing. Ubishar koichosov, and then the other koichos, he says over there, the rotzen, the seichel, the midas, lasis hamelocha, and all the other koichos to do the melocha. Well, derech ze yuvan lamailo. So similarly, we'll understand above, shahakoyach ala yirida ba'avodas habirurim, that the power to the descent to the avodas habirurim, hu mibchinas mochras hashabbos. That comes from Mochras HaShabbos, higher than Shabbos, Etzem HaTainug, the Tainug Nest. V'zehu usvartem lochem b'Mochras HaShabbos. You shall count from the day after Shabbos. Shemebchinas Mochras HaShabbos nimshach hanasinas koyach that from the level of Mochras HaShabbos, from the level of Tainug Be'etzim, the Tainug Nimshach and the Sinas Koyach, Alavedus Habirurim, the Sfiras Oimer, from there comes the power to do the service of the Birurim of Sfiras Oimer. The Pirush Usefartem, because what is the meaning Usefartem? Say Birurim, Sefartem means to make it clear and shine. The Pirush Usefartem Pirush Kvet Kedushas Admor Hazoket. It's like the Alter Rebbe explains, Meloshin, Sefirus Ubehirus, Loshin, clear and shiny. Shetzorich levarer es kol hamidos usfartem lachem, to make them shiny, because you need to sort out all the midos. V'lasoisam shegiyu sefirus ubehirus. You have to make them; they should be nice. They should be clear and shining. V'ali dezeh nase nimshach achar b'chag hashavuos. And through this, on Shavuos, we get Bechinas Makiv HaChayzer. Shal Zen Nemar. So you get the level of Makiv HaChayzer through the Avodah Sfartem Lochem, through the Avodah Sabirurim. Shal Zen Nemar Ad Mimochras HaShabbos HaShviz Tispru Chamishim Yoim. It doesn't just say Sfartem. Until Mochras HaShabbos HaShviz, Mimochras HaShabbos from Yitzias Mitzrayim, Memochras Shabbos from Pesach, Yitzias Mitzrayim, and Memochras HaShabbos HaShviz. And that brings down Memochras HaShviz, Tispru Chamishim Yoim. Shu Gilui Bechinas Tainug Abilti Murgush. Then you get the revelation of the Tainug which is not felt, that comes through from the highest level, that giving the Avodah for Koyach HaBirurim, the level of Tainug, till you get to the Tainug HaChayzer, to the Makiv HaRochik, and you get the Tainug Abilti Murgush. The Iker Gilui Zeh Yiyeh La'osid B'Yom Shekul Shabbos HaMenucha. Mainly, that revelation will be in the future, in the day which is Torah Shabbos HaMenucha. Then you'll get the Tainug, as we said by Mincha before. Kimi Itcho Himenuchoso. Umein Zeh Meir Gam B'Suda Shlishi, the Shabbos canal, and some of it is also shines during the third meal of Shabbos, as said before, and also become B'Yom de Shabbato. We said that also on the day of Shabbos, Ubemayla de Shabbato, and the Erev Shabbos, Meir Mein B'Chinazu. Also, you get some of this level. He said before the Suda and the Tefillah, but we have some of it. That's why we say both Friday night and Shabbos, we say Mizmor Shiliyem HaShabbos, Yom HaShabbos, Yom Shekulu Shabbos U'Menucha, because this is actually in the day that is all Shabbos and Menucha, which is La'osid Lovei. But we have some of it on Friday and Shabbos. So it turns out that your mamshich, the koiches, the svira from the Mochras HaShabbos, so the gilui comes. So the svira soimer is the from the tainuk that gives the koich for the birurim, and after you have the birurim, you get to reach into the tainuk that comes after that. And the Rebbe explains now that also Matan Torah, Mitzis Mitzrayim, is a preparation. The fact that Yitzis Mitzrayim was a preparation for Torah, when you prepare, it has to be somewhat of that which you prepare. ומפני שגם ביציאת מצרים היה בהלם גם בחינס מנוחה בעצם. Even though the whole time we said that Yitzias Mitzrayim was the Chiyah of the Makas B'Chodesh, and it was just the Yigia, Menucha Achrei Yigia, but we have to say that also Yitzias Mitzrayim was in Helem, in the hidden Gam B'Chinas Menucha B'Etzem, because this prepares for Matan Torah, which is Menucha B'Etzem. Etzem Hoir. The essence of the Hoir, not only the Spashtus, the Gilu, the Makif HaRochik, but also Zo Mashakosuf. And that's why the Pasuk says, Ba'itzicha es ha'om Mitzrayim, Tabdun es ha'likim alahorazeh. When you take him out of Mitzrayim, you will serve Hashem on the mountain. We connect Kigam, B'yitzias Mitzrayim, Hoya ha'inyan sheheir b'matan Torah. That also, by Yitzias Mitzrayim, it also shined what took place in Matan Torah, the Menucha Be'etzem. Ela shebe'yitzias Mitzrayim hoya zeh behelem. But when they went out of Mitzrayim, that was hidden. Matan Torah, Nimshach Begil Matan Torah, it comes out and it's drawn out, it comes out openly. Begil, revealed. V'zeu sfartem lochem mimochras hashabbos. We also called it mimochras hashabbos, even though the Sfiras Ha'omer is mimochras hashabbos, the zeh shegam yitzias Mitzrayim nikra mochras hashabbos, because we're saying mochras hashabbos, that's when they came out of Mitzrayim. They're starting the Sfira, but he says, before we're saying the Shabbos is Yitzias Mitzrayim, mochras hashabbos is Sfira, but here the Rebbe says that also the Yitzias Mitzrayim is called mochras hashabbos, who lefi shebi Yitzias Mitzrayim hoyo gam etzemoid, because over there was also the essence of the Bechinas Menucha Be'etzem. Really, it was the Menucha Be'etzem even over there by Yitzias Mitzrayim. Elo shemashe nimshachos begilui, but what came down openly, hoye b'shum akas b'chayres, that was from an akas b'chayres, was Menucha Shacharei HaMilchama, that was from Menucha after the war. Avo behelem hoye bazeh gam b'chinas Menucha Be'etzem, but in a hidden way, there was also really Menucha in essence. So, the Rebbe says that Emerson in a hidden way, also by Yitzias Mitzrayim, it's already called Mochros HaShabbos. You have the Menucha Be'etzem. But mainly what was needed then is to Dechias, the Makas B'chayres. So therefore, openly, it was the Menucha that follows the Avodah. But in a hidden way, it also had Menucha Be'etzem. The Rebbe adds, the Bekivon, the given Shemayin, the Mochros HaShabbos, Shebitzias Mitzrayim. Since from Mochros HaShabbos by Yitzias Mitzrayim, Nimshach HaNesinas Koyach Al Sfiras HaOmer, that from that is drawn the power to count the Omer. Usfartem Mimlochem Mochros HaShabbos, that you count Mochros HaShabbos comes now. We're saying Mochros HaShabbos Yitzias Mitzrayim is from Menucha Be'etzem. L'chein yesh dugmas inyan zeh gam b'sfiras ha'omer. So we have the similar when by counting the sfiras ha'omer. The hinei b'sfiras ha'omer nemar sheva shabbosos tmimis tiyano, that the shabboses should be whole. I'm just going to explain that also in Sfira, because Sfiras ha'omer, because it follows Mitzrayim, and that's Mochros HaShabbos, that also in here, it's not just preparing for Matan Torah, but in itself, by Sfira, we have the higher level. L'chein yesh dugma zeh in the gam b'sfiras ha'omer. Hine b'sfiras ha'omer nemar sheva shabbos tmimos tiyan, should be whole Shabbos. Shebechol Sfira tzricha liyos tmimos. Anytime you count, it needs to be whole. Sholochein, and therefore the halacha is im hechsel lisper pam achas as I choser b'chol yimei asfira. If he misses to count even one time, then he's lacking in all the counts of the sfira. Lefi shekol achas tzricha liyos bitmimes, because each counting needs to be complete. V'yiseda mizeh, not only needs to be whole, but it needs to be complete. Tmimus means whole. It means you have to count every day, but it needs to be in the in the complete way. What's the difference between tmimus and shlemus? Tmimus means it's not lacking. Shlemus means that it's full. It's the positive. The true idea of tmimis who loirak she'en bei chisorim. It's not just that it's not missing anything, elagam inyan hashlemus, but also that it has the wholesomeness. Kitoides habal shemtov al haposik, as the Baal Shem Tov teaches the posik, toides Hashem timimo vihi shlema. Timima, the posik says timima, it's complete, but shlema, that it's whole, but this is shlema. The Baal Shem Tov teaches, vihi commission is by ill, as explained earlier. This is referencing an earlier mimer. Ba'pizeh yesh leimar, the zeh shebechol svira tzricha liyes tmimis. So when we say that no svira needs to be tmimis, so loir actually yechson. It's not just shouldn't be missing. And l'shiyeh b'gam shleimus, you should also have shleimus. Be'inyan hatmimis u'shleimus u'menucha be'etzem. And the idea of tmimis and shleimus that svira have, that's menucha be'etzem. And then you get through the tmimis, you get the gilu tainuga atzmi b'shas matan Torah. You get the revelation of the essence of tainug b'shas matan Torah through the hamshocha, through sfiras ha'emer, which takes the level of mimochras hashabos, the level of tmimis and shleimus. We bring about the level of tainug ha'atzmi, which is nimshach when it comes to matan Torah. Ches. V'zeu ve'eye etzloi omein shashuim. We're circling back to the beginning of the Bible. The Torah says, I was by Hashem, omein, raised by Hashem. It was a play, an enjoyment. Sheb'matan Torah hoya hamshochas shashuim ha'atzmim. By matan Torah, it extended the enjoyment, the essence enjoyment. Zeu anoichi havai lekecha. That's what we're saying. Anoichi. Anoichi Hashem lekecha by matan Torah is anoichi mishanoichi. I, whoever I is. The lo yisram is lo bishum ois, lo bishum kates, which is not hinted, not in any letter, not in any point of a letter, which means higher than all. It's anoichi, I myself. Higher does not, no letters cannot be come down on anything. Hainu, shebematan Torah hoyo hamshochas ha'atzmus. That means bematan Torah was the hamshoch of the essence. Elo shebitchila hutzrach liyes yitzias mitzrayim musfiras ha'emer. In the beginning, there needed to be yitzias mitzrayim and the counting of the emer. That was the preparation. After this preparation was the revelation of Matan Torah, Tainug Habilti Murgash, that level of the light which is not felt, Bechinas Menucha Ve'etzem, the level of Menucha in essence. Likewise, there will also be in the future redemption. The Mashiach, who is Sholem. Mashiach is a man of peace, like we said by Shloimeh before, that he is peace be'etzem. Bechinas menucha be'etzem, in the love menucha be'etzem. Ach behazman de la'osid gufay, in the time of la'osid yikam madregas, there will be several steps there. K'maymer Razal, as the sages of blessed memory say, Ariston means a suda, a meal. In the future, Hashem will make a meal for his servants the tzaddikim. Shehu dugmas menucha shalachere milchama tainug amurgush. That would be the menucha after milchama felt tainug. Like we say about the suda shlishis was loy, but this is a regular meal, which is a tainug amurgush. And then there will be Yom Shekuloi Shabbos U'Menucha. Be totally Shabbos U'Menucha, Tainuga Bilti Murgash, a delight which is not felt. V'os Tushlam Kavonas Habriyas. And then the intent of the creation will have been completed. Tachlis HaKavona, the ultimate goal, intent of Matan Torah. Sheyeh v'nigla kvei davai v'ro kol basar, that the glory of Hashem shall be revealed and all flesh will see Gomer. Sheyeh havai echad u'shmoi echad, Hashem will be echad, Shmo echad means k'moshe ani nichtov ani nikra, that the Eibishter will be called by the way it's written. Right now, you say Hashem, you don't call by the way it's written, but that's going to be la'osid, and then it's going to be everything revealed. Shmo echad la'osid.